I'm Nathan Groeneweg, Riverbotton Farms, Rock Valley, Iowa. This is my son Nathan. I've been farming for 35 years.
Yep.
He started farming with me 2 years ago now. This will be a third generation farm. And we incorporated last year. We built a new shed in the shop. Everything's rotated. Corn, soybeans. We do have some alfalfa. We work with a couple of big dairies, and we do grow some alfalfa for them guys. This year it'll probably end up being about 5,000 acres. Next year it'll probably be pushing a little over 6,000 next year if things go well. And that depends too if we have to go back and spray alfalfa for leaf hopper or aphids or anything like that too. There'll be a few more acres in there. The reason I own my own sprayers because then I can pick my time to do it. And that's very important. I can't have somebody out there spraying when the wind's blowing 20 miles an hour or not at the proper time of day, or when my chemical rep tells me I shouldn't be and they are. I do listen to him. So that's the reason we own our own sprayer. We got a Hardy. The Hardy's got a lot better boom on it, for one thing. The Hardy does not give me any trouble with cracking in the boom or anything. Top Air, we had a lot of trouble with that. It's got to be simple, it's got to be functional, and it's got to be tough when I use them. And they get used. We've been looking. We've looked at several of them already. We've looked at John Deere's, we've looked at Rogators. Now we've looked at the Apache. There is a gentleman by Inwood that owns one, an older one, and I was coming down the road, coming home from, just got done spraying a load, and I seen him going through the field with it. So I stopped, and he was coming to the field driveway, and I got out and I started talking to him a little bit about it. And I asked him a few questions, and he kind of explained the sprayer to me, and walked me around, looked at it. He told me, he says, I love the thing. He says, I can't tell you anything that's wrong with it. He says, it's an easy piece of equipment to run. So that was kind of the way it started.
Oh, we seen one and we did some calling and
mentioned it to our chemical rep, and he calls, next thing we know, we got an Apache on the yard. My honest opinion was I don't know how you could compare to the Rogator and the John Deere. The Apache's way simpler. To me, it looks like the John Deere and the Rogator. You'd better have a real good understanding of hydraulics. You better have people around that know what they're doing, because there are so darn many hoses and motors and electrical crap hanging all over that, to me, it's way too complicated. I sat in a Rogator. I did not like the vision out of it at all. The Rogator had a big old beam standing right in your way. Sitting in the Apache, I could just glance to the side and I can see the booms. When I was riding in it, I could actually look down. We're on 20-inch rows, so we don't have much margin for error. But I could actually look down and see the wheel, where the Rogator and the John Deere are sitting too far back. You can see the wheels, but you can't see what you're doing if you're riding over the cropper or anything. So I was not impressed at all with that. The Apache, yeah, the vision out of the thing is unbelievable. I love it. It didn't take very long to convince me. The Apache is just way simpler. Sorry. I just don't see where that John Deere's gonna gain me anything as far as how I get the job done. I am not at all impressed with how that machine looks. Yeah, reputation, it's still got to do the job. Compared to the tractor, there's no comparison. If I really sit in the tractor, I can spray 400, 450 a day. If I spray all day long, or I'm probably sitting in there a total of 8-9 hours. Had a stretch, and then yeah, you get out and fill and stuff like that. You crawl out of that tractor after going through a rough field or over rows or something, you get jerked and bumped and pounded apart. So that Apache was like going from a lumber wagon to a Cadillac as far as riding. There's no comparison. I'm not beating myself up. We got kind of a dumb saying, it's called KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And the simpler that can be, the better it is. Really, just horsing around with it on the yard here and stuff, it really didn't take me that long to figure out how it worked. It probably, all the computers and all that stuff in, I'm not real computer savvy, but what Josh and Tim were explaining to me didn't seem that terribly complicated. Yeah, I would say, you know, it ain't going to take that long to learn how to run one of them things. With the Apache, when I was riding with Josh, it was real easy to adjust boom height. We had the sonar on too, so that was just really made it easy. I couldn't believe that. Our new Apache will have that on, definitely. With a Hardy, I would slow down going through the terraces and stuff just to make sure my boom wasn't hitting the ground. I was keeping that up at the right heights and stuff. I'll have that my booms get too low to the ground. I got to run my booms way up, keep my booms way up so that I don't have one end sticking in the ground. So, or either that or I got to run my joystick to run one side up and one side down, which when you're moving along, it seemed to me like with the Apache, when we were spraying on this particular piece, it was gently rolling. There was a lot of straight rows on it, and we were going along. There was a wet spot in it, so there were some short rows to be dealt with. And then all of a sudden, below the wet spot, we could go straight across the field again. But the rows are nice and straight, and the wet spot, there was water running down it, and it was angled. And we were going 14 miles an hour. And I was sitting in the buddy seat, and I'm watching that wet spot come up, and I'm, gee, we better slow down. I didn't say anything. I was like, boy, we got to slow down, or we're going to have a boom. We're going to be picking up parts and pieces here. And we flew through that spot 14 miles an hour, and I was watching the booms, and I couldn't believe that sonar. It adjusted, and we never touched the ground. And we kept right on going. I can see where the Apache will go through way more. Well, I know it will. When I was riding with Josh that night, when I was riding with him, when he was demoing it, we were going into areas that there's no way I would even have dared to get close to with my tractor, my pull-type sprayer. Not even, I would remote. I was sitting in the buddy seat in the thing thinking, boy, this guy's nuts. We're going to get stuck. But it walked right through it. It's like, oh man, if you can't get through it with that, the way that sprayer, that Apache set up, I don't think you're going to get through it with a four-wheel drive. You'd just be a little more stuck. Acres don't come near as fast with a tractor as what they do with that Apache. I can see that. I looked at my cell phone just out of curiosity. That thing, he was spraying 10 gallons an acre. So I thought, oh, we'll see once how long it takes him to spray 75 acres. And I looked at it when we got out, when we started, and I looked at it when we stopped. In 32 minutes, we had 75 acres sprayed. Well, and the timeliness and the ability for us to get the spraying done on time is what's going to save us. You know, you get a wet couple of days, if I can double up my acres, it's going to make a huge difference, you know, in my control. And if we go to a nurse truck with that, you know, my spraying, the capabilities of spraying are going to, yeah, it's not going to take me very long to spray 1,000 acres. So that's going to cut down on our time a lot and cover a lot more acres in a day. I can do it a lot more efficiently. I think I'm going to save a lot of spray, a lot of chemical with AccuBoom. I was impressed with that. When I was riding with the demo, we were running into point rows, and this 715 had the AccuBoom on it. And I was watching the boom, and as we'd come out through them point rows, it just really amazed me. I believe that was a 5-section boom, and it's just, it shuts off, and there was no chemical wasted. With my Hardy, for me to shut them booms off that fast, it's impossible. And then when you're going back in, you're watching your row and you're trying to turn them all back on, you miss one, they're not very pretty. So you got to go back and get them again. No, the AccuBoom that looks phenomenal to me. I just absolutely love it. I think we're going to save a lot of spray. Tim has been working with us on a price, and from what I've seen of that, compared to a Rogator or the John Deere or even the Miller or the new Case IH, I can about own 2 of them versus 1 of them. So with the way it's built and the way it looks, I think we're getting better quality, just that much simpler. I'd say if you're covering that 4,000 plus acres a year, I don't think you can afford not to own. For what the Apache is costing, I don't think you can afford not to own it.